Hello, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Good.
Yeah.
Is everybody excited? Hello, good morning from Kuala Lumpur, city where the sun spends its vacation. My name is Lawrence. I'm the moderator for this event, exciting event today. I'm very excited to introduce to you someone that is an expert in prompting, Stu Jordan, and he's going to unleash the key to AI potential today. And we're very privileged to have him here. And I'm pretty sure that there are nuggets to be picked up by all of us. And I'd like to congratulate all of you participants here today. You make the time to be here. That shows that you are very dedicated and committed to being the best you can be and learn from the best. I will pass at the time over to Stu. And before that, let me ask you a couple of questions. Hey, Stu, can you introduce yourself and let us know a little bit about your background and, let us sort of get to know you better. Go ahead, Stu.
Hello, and thank you for the invite, Adam and Kevin. Great to be here and nice to meet you all. Today, we're going to have a lot of fun talking prompting. I have a brand called Evolution Unleashed. Basically, what happened, I had a chat with my operations manager back in December when ChatGPT had just been released. We had an agency. I had an agency. We were pushing very hard with agency owners. So we were helping people build client acquisition systems and systems within their business to simplify their workflows and stuff like that. We looked at AI. We realized when we started playing with it, what it could do to our workflows. And we had a conversation which went along the lines of, hey, if we don't get serious about AI, we won't have a business in 2 or 3 years. It'll wipe us out. AI can do what we can do. So what happened was we pivoted. So I've since shuttered my agency. We stopped onboarding clients. We've offboarded all our clients, and I've gone all in on AI, which is a huge risk, giant pivot, but it's not shiny object. AI isn't like everything else. This is the paradigm shifter. It is going to change everything, and it already is. So I'm very excited to share with you guys today what we've learned in the subsequent 10 months since ChatGPT was released.
Awesome. So are you ready, folks? And let's go, Stu. Let's get out the key and unlock the secrets and the power to ChatGPT AI.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And folks, if you have any questions as you go, or if I've covered anything too quickly, just put a question in the chat, and whoever's moderating the chat will let me know, and I'll be sure to address that. And there'll also be time at the end for some questions. Okay. So I'll bring up my presentation for you. Very clean, simple notes, and let's get started. So you can all see that okay?
Yes, very good.
Great. Nice. Okay, the art of prompting. Let's just get straight in. So now, I've already introduced myself, but here's my AI-generated version of me. I've been self-employed since 2008, so going on quite a while now. And in my last corporate role, I was a national sales manager for Logitech. So I had a pretty good corporate career, went out on my own, and I've been doing that ever since. Currently living in Vietnam. Sales and marketing is my specialty. And as I said, co-founder of Evolution Unleashed. We have quite a wonderful community called the Unleashed family with about 14,000 people who love what we do, hopefully, and hopefully you'll be the same. So before we get started, I want to dispel a few myths that people have around AI, a few fake beliefs, if you like. Number one, AI is not getting dumber. People, you see all these posts online, ChatGPT getting dumber, and Sam Altman, who is the CEO of OpenAI, actually came out and refuted the claims that were being made and said, no, if anything, it's got smarter. And what we found is it has got way smarter in the last 3 months. The outputs we're able to generate right now in terms of high-level strategy, copy, everything is just phenomenal. So I'm going to give you a few tips and tricks to get more out of ChatGPT than what you'll get with a couple of lines in your prompts, okay? So you're going to love this.
Brilliant.
The other thing to keep in mind is that AI makes mistakes and can hallucinate. So it's really important we remember that we're in control of AI. It's a tool, right? The third one, AI is not a human. It is not sentient. As humans, because it talks like us, we kind of ascribe our human kind of way of being to it, and we think it's like us, but it isn't. It's just a very advanced computer program. It's software, very, very powerful software, and it is a tool, and it requires something called the human filter, which we're going to talk about down the road. The human filter is just making sure that we're not using the responses blindly, okay? So, the art of prompting. So the key to unlocking really high value from ChatGPT is through prompts, okay? So you got to learn to ask it properly. You got to know how to ask the right questions. And that's the wonderful thing about ChatGPT. When you learn how to drive it, you can actually create assets that you can monetize. What I mean by that is, we had a client, one of our last clients actually coming through our agency. We did the copy using AI, his whole funnel, landing pages, everything, in about 3 days. We could never have done that before. And his reaction was, wow, this is the first time someone's got me. It's like you were in my head and you can speak exactly like me. It was absolutely incredible because we reverse engineered his copy that he'd previously written so we could speak like him, right? So it was actually just a nice little trick. I'm going to show you how to do that today too, if that would be useful. So, imagine a crystal ball that will give you anything you want, and all you've got to learn how to do is ask it the right way. And that is the art of prompting. And this is why people who can prompt are going to have a massive advantage in the market. Because if you can't prompt, you're going to get left behind. It's that simple, which is why I pivoted fully into AI. So it's not about bending AI to your will or wrangling AI, which we sometimes do. It's about dancing with it. Learn to lead so that ChatGPT can follow your step. And this is where a lot of people go wrong. And, I don't like AI-generated content and all this stuff. All the content is a reflection of the input we put in. And if we put in high-quality input, people won't even know it was generated by AI. That's simple. And this is where a lot of the relationship with AI is wrong. We kind of think AI will do everything. It won't. We're in control. We're the pilot. It's more like a co-pilot that advises us, gives us ways to accelerate our workflows, right? But today we're going to look right through from editing prompts, custom instructions, and everything in between to help you learn how to drive ChatGPT like we do. So we're going to start today, folks, with prompt structure. Okay, remember, ChatGPT is a computer program. And while it can understand natural language, if you say to it, write me an article about a cat, it's going to, it's got no context, right? So it's just going to write a very generic article about cats. That's very high level. Now, if you were to go deeper and say, write me an article about why cats like to hunt at night, it'll get better because you're giving it more information. And in fact, you can go pretty crazy. And let me tell you now, some of the prompts we write can be up to 1,000, 1,200 words long. And that sounds absurd, right? But wait till you see what we can do with it. But when you're working in high complexity or doing very advanced tasks with ChatGPT, you can't just freewheel and write your thoughts out. You need a structure. And we're going to show you exactly what that structure is right now. So there's 5 core elements to a ChatGPT prompt. And I've got examples of all of these in a moment. Okay, so you can see on the graphic there, this is in order. Okay, so we start with the task and a role that we assign to ChatGPT. We then want to give it back context or background information. We then need to tell it what the goal is. Why are we doing what we're doing? Because ChatGPT is very good at reasoning. And once you give it some background information and then you tell it why you're giving it that, this is what we're trying to achieve, it's very, very good, especially GPT-4 or ChatGPT Plus, at understanding what you're trying to do and reading between the lines. So the reasoning ability of this tool is incredible. Then we want to give it guidelines and instructions, and that's where we become the sculptor, the artist. That's where we influence and shape the copy so it speaks like we want it to speak. It outputs what we want. And then presentation is how we want it to present that information. So guidelines is how it's sort of an extension of guidelines, but presentation I'll explain in a moment. Okay, so this will be made available to people afterwards, so you'll be able to come back and look at these slides. But this is the structure that you want for your prompts. So let's start with task and role, and we'll just go through each of these individually, and I'll explain them and break them down in more detail. And this is what I love most about ChatGPT. You know, in the past, folks, if you wanted to go and hire, say, a Deloitte or a McKinsey level consultant or a team of consultants, you needed to have a lot of money, right? You needed to have a lot of resources. You need to have a big team to go and get this really advanced stuff. And when you're sort of at the startup level, or you're just trying to launch your entrepreneurship, or you're just trying to get an offer to market, you know, you can't afford that kind of level. And this is what I love about ChatGPT. AI gives us access to all of human knowledge, the best information condensed down into actionable strategy, tailored specifically to where we're at, what we want to do, and we can get access to all of this. So when we set the task, we want to give it a role, right? So imagine you could hire the world's best expert for any task if you had an unlimited budget, right? So you might want an expert in direct sales copywriting, specializing in high converting sales copy, for example. So we want to define the role, assign it to ChatGPT, and then it's like having these experts in your pocket or at your fingertips, as I like to say. So here's an example. So at the top is how I always structure mine. I'm very nice to ChatGPT. It's a personal thing. It's how you do one thing is how you do everything. I like to be polite. So, hey, GPT, today I would like you to assume the role of an expert in what role, specializing in what your task is today. So it knows exactly what you're doing. Okay, so it understands what its role is. I'd like you to assume the role of an expert in email marketing, specializing in high converting email sequences. So I've got an email prompt that we're breaking down as an example here, okay? It's very, very simple, very simple. And that sets the tone and gives ChatGPT the high level. Then we want to give it context, right? Now imagine you've just hired somebody in your business and you say to them, oh, okay, I want you to write an email to my for my database. Okay, I want you to write an email. What other information do you need to give that person? Well, who is going to be reading it? Who's the reader? What do we know about our target market? What do you want me to say? What's the background information? So you've got to give them a whole lot of information so they know what to write in the email, right? So context, or what I call contextual information, is the key. This is the most important part to get the best information out of ChatGPT. And now that we have code interpreter plugins, we use the text document. We save all our context as a text document, thousands of words. We can upload it as through code interpreter and tell it, there's all our context, right? So the more context you give it, the better it's able to understand your business, what you're trying to achieve, and it'll tie everything together. So let me give you an example. If we're doing an email, for example, we might write, here is the information you will need to complete this task. And then we use placeholders. So anybody can use this and tailor it to their own business. And that's another thing I love about AI, the ability to personalize and tailor and use precision alignment. So what information would you want when you're sending an email, right? You'll want to know, what am I selling? Who am I selling it to? A little bit about us. And, you know, a wee bit about why we have this list and what its function is, right? So you might say, you know, I'm selling an AI chatbot. I'm selling it to small businesses. It helps with client acquisition. You just give it all this context, okay? I'll give you some examples. Well, this is the example, isn't it? So context is king, okay? If you're ever getting output that doesn't seem to align to what you want, go back and add more context. Okay, so now we've got a task. We've given it all the background information. We need to tell it why. Why are we doing what we're doing? And this is where the objective comes in, okay? Have you ever tried herding cats? It's not very easy, but with clear intent, and this is where clarity is important, guiding ChatGPT is a lot easier. So you want to state your objectives and then let AI align it to your desires and your outcomes. It'll gear all its output to achieving this goal, okay? Your wish is its command, literally. So for example, with our email, the objective of the emails is threefold. So we might have three objectives. We want to provide value to our target market. We want to nurture our target market, and we want to get our target market to visit our sales page. So very clear, right? No fluff, no nonsense. So usually the objective is quite a low, it's quite short. But the next one is where the magic happens. I'm going to spend a wee bit of time on this one, folks. So I want you to imagine, this is an analogy I use quite a lot. I want you to think about Michelangelo. He can take a big block of marble. He's a sculptor that made the statue of David. So imagine him just sitting there looking at this big block of marble going, I'm going to create the statue of David. And he takes his chisel, his tools, and he just carves out this most amazing statue. AI is the chisel, not the artist. This is what I said earlier. We humanize AI, but we've got to remember that it's the chisel, the very powerful chisel. Now, if you give me that chisel, and I'm standing beside Michelangelo and he's chipping away, and I've got my own block and I'm looking at him and I've got my chisel, I'm no artist, I'm no sculptor, right? I can tell you that what I create is going to be awful, right? Compared to what he can create. So when we think about AI, this is what's happening out in the market. This is why there's such a backlash against AI-generated content, is because you've got lots of people using the chisel like I would be, rather than Michelangelo. So what we're trying to teach you is how to use the chisel, the AI tool, like Michelangelo. And the way to do that is through our modifiers or instructions and guidelines. So this is where we become the artist and we tell ChatGPT how we want everything. And this is going to be extensive. This is where the majority of our prompt weight is in context and instructions. The task at the beginning, the objective, and the presentation are always very short. But instructions can be very, very long, as can context. If we go back to the context, for example, right? When you put all this information in, your offer details, well, you want to write quite a bit of information. And then your target market, you want to have research. And the wonderful thing about ChatGPT, you can instantly research your target market right down to persona level, get your psychographic, demographic information, and then you can align your offers perfectly to their heart, their mind. It's a powerful tool for marketing and business. So you think about how much context that would be. It wouldn't fit on the page, which is why I had to put the examples here, right? The placeholders. But this could be quite long. And as I said, some of ours are 1,000+ words. Okay, so we've got the objective. Right, so here's an example of the guidelines, okay? And this is where I want to spend a bit of time and take you through some of the things. Now, some of this stuff's going to be a bit advanced. You're going to say, what the heck does that mean? So I'll try and explain it. But if I think about, if I were, I'm a copywriter, right? I used to do a lot of copywriting. So I understand the principles of copy. So I'm able to take our expertise, and this is where your expertise, this is where you're Michelangelo, your expertise is used to shape it. Because if you know what you want and you understand what it takes to create that, you can put it in your instructions. This is why it's a great tool for extending our expertise or augmenting our expertise. So we want it to produce, so this is the instruction, produce a series of 5 emails according to the following guidelines. 1, be creative and think outside the box. And one of the biggest problems with output from ChatGPT is it's bland and boring and robotic, and you can spot it a mile away, right? Well, with these sort of modifiers, you don't have that problem. So when you're telling it to be creative, it's going to use, let me tell you exactly how ChatGPT works, okay? So it works on a token system. And all it does is we do the same thing without realizing it. All it does is it takes a whole lot of context about, we don't know exactly how much it can hold in its memory, but let's say it's about 10,000 tokens or whatever. In a single prompt and response, it's 4,098 tokens or 4,096 tokens. What's a token? Token is how they monetize. A token is not a word. So one word might be 2 tokens. One word might be 1 token. It could even be 3 tokens. But on average, if you've got 1,000 words, you're probably around 700 tokens, okay? And tokens is how ChatGPT works. And what it does, it's like the game show Jeopardy. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but basically they ask a question like, and you have to guess what the most obvious answer is, and there's a board up behind them. And when you guess the answer, it'll go ding and show you how many people. So they survey 100 people, they ask the question, they put all the answers up on a board, then they ask the game show, they ask the questions, and it might be complete a word or whatever. What ChatGPT does is it takes the most common, the most obvious, the most predictable next word in a sequence. So it takes all that context and it predicts the next word. That's all it's doing. It's just honestly, when you see people saying it's just a very advanced text predictor, it kind of is. But it does also some reasoning and stuff. So what it does is it predicts what it thinks the next word should be. And it'll take a bunch of words and it'll pick the most obvious one, the one that people would have answered the highest, right? The number one answer. But when you tell it to be creative, and then you see number 2, use a temperature range, it's telling it to be a bit more random, okay? So instead of taking the most obvious one, which is how you get that boring robotic answer, it'll pick randomly from maybe the list of the top 5 words as it predicts as it goes along. So you get much more creative output. You get far better, more unique output, right? So these first 2 are very important if you're creating copy, which is what this is, email. Then, obviously, we want to create an attention-grabbing, scroll-stopping subject line for each email that is designed to get, the attention of our target market. Because we want to speak to our target market. We want it to align to our target market. So we need to give it lots of information in the context so it understands who our target market is, and it will relate that back to that and then produce what's going to work. Ensure the email copy is short, easy to read, and highly engaging. Incorporate powerful storytelling techniques. This is just my instructions. You can put your own, right? End each email with a clear call to action. End each email with a polite sign-off. Avoid repetition between each email. Sometimes it can get repetitive. Each email should be unique, yet flow within the sequence. And then please write in a tone, style, and voice that is most likely to resonate powerfully with my target market at an emotional and aspirational level. Okay, so that's just instructions. So if you were to write the email without these, it'll be bland and generic. When you add all this, it's now got all your background information. It knows your offer. It knows what you're selling. It knows exactly who you're selling it to, and it knows how they think, often better than they know themselves. It knows what you're trying to achieve, which is to move people to book a sales call or whatever it is. Okay. And now it knows to speak in a way that's going to resonate most powerfully with that target market. So it's going to look at that target market, look at what that target market resonates with, and use that to craft. Now, you can also put your own brand personality in here. You might say, be energetic, authentic, add a level of humor. Whatever you want to say, you can just add all this in here. You're the artist. This is where you get to shape and modify the output, okay? So I know that's a lot to take in. If you've got any questions, do sing out, but I hope that makes sense, okay? So this is just that prompt structure. We're up to number 4 now, so there's only one left, and that is presentation. And this is where you tell ChatGPT how you want the output presented. So, for example, you might want a table, a list, an article with subheadings, right? So this is where you just can speed up. So quite often we'll do things in a table, or we might want things written with a certain level of markup or whatever you want, right? We might want to use H1, H2, and H3 tags if we're writing website copy. We might want to use SEO tags and meta tags as well if we're creating SEO copy. So this is where your expertise is really important, right? So if you don't have the expertise, that's where people like me come in, and you can get the prompts that we create based on our expertise, so you can access our expertise through prompting without needing that expertise. But the only danger with that, folks, is that you're missing out on the human filter, which I'm going to talk about shortly, because you won't have the expertise to know if it's telling the truth. Because sometimes it just makes stuff up completely. I remember we were building our second course, and I went on to Bing, which is on GPT-4, and I said, in ClickFunnels, can we have a second course within our funnel? And it said, no, you can only have one course per funnel. And it made a very convincing argument. It gave me links. I clicked the links, and it was just a made-up link. So I went into the ClickFunnels group and asked, and sure enough, you can have as many courses as you want in your funnel. So what do you know? It was lying to me, right? And if I'd relied on that information, it could have meant I went and would have caused me a lot of pain and grief. So just be careful that you understand what ChatGPT is saying is correct. Okay, So with our email, please present each email with the subject line and body text. Ensure the body text is broken up with mini subheadings to make it easier to read. Okay, so there's an example of our presentation. So if you were to take all of those 5 things and put them together, which I'm not going to do because it's too long for the screen share, you'll have a nice little email prompt. So if you're prepared to do some work, there's your email prompt, okay, for writing email sequences. Whew. Before I carry on with some other ways to get the most out of ChatGPT, which is where you're going to get a lot of value today, are there any questions in the short term?
I think there is someone on the chat asking a couple of questions. One of them is, what's a temperature range?
Yes, good question. Okay, so temperature is actually a command that is used at the base layer when you're talking through the API. It's actual prompt engineering language. And ChatGPT, technically, you're not actually changing the temperature, which you can do through Playground. If you've ever been into the back end and used Playground, which is how you access the base model, it's not ChatGPT, it's actually direct to GPT-4. You can type into Playground, right? And you can there's a slider to set your temperature. What temperature does is it changes the randomness, as I was explaining earlier. So the higher the temperature, the more random. In fact, I think I'll throw it in. Tell you what, give me 2 seconds. I'll bring up something and I'll share this with you all at the end, okay? I'm just going to stop the screen share for a second so you don't see me hunting around my computer. I'm going to quickly dive in. I know exactly where it is. And I'm going to show you a little chart on temperature, which may be quite useful. Here it is. Okay, that was easy. So let me come back and screen share this. Okay, can you all, how's the button? Okay, so impact of temperature, right? So let me, where is it? How do I zoom in on this? Okay, how's that, folks? Okay, so using temperature in your prompt. Now, it doesn't actually change it, but ChatGPT, being the clever little beastie that it is, understands what temperature is and can mimic it. So it will still do the same thing, even though it's technically not changing the, developers get a bit upset when the technical things aren't correct, but it still works because we've tested it. Here's the proof, right? So remember, so all I did was type, how are you? And then change the temperature from 1. And all you do is say, please use the temperature of, right? I use a range. So at 0.1, right, the answer is generally short, best used for generating simple responses. I'm good. How are you? I'm good. That's the most predictable response, isn't it? When you ask people, how are you? They always say, I'm good. So it picked the most predictable answer. But as you increase the temperature, it increases the randomness, okay? And it increases the depth of the reply. So you can see here, there's an explanation. I'll make this available to you all afterwards if you like. Adam, I think that would be nice, bit of extra value. I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. I'm feeling pretty good today, all things considered, right? At 3. And then as we go higher and higher, I'm doing well today, although I admit I'm a little tired after a long week. I'm feeling quite content today, although I can't help but ponder the nature of happiness and whether it can truly be achieved. That's a very odd thing for an AI to write, isn't it? And as you get up to 1, and they've now shifted this to 2 since I made this, but after 1, it gets absurd. It just goes into craziness, and I'll show you because we went all the way to 1. So at 1, the answer may be highly unpredictable and involves significant deviations. Today is a day of infinite possibility, a canvas upon which we can paint the colors of your dreams and aspirations. How are you feeling about the boundless potential of the present moment? Okay, completely random answer. I'm feeling alive and vibrant today, like a leaf in the wind dancing to the rhythms of the universe. You wouldn't think that was AI generated, would you, if somebody was to write that? So, this is why I always play up in this area here, 0.6 to 0.8, okay? So I will make that available to you at the end. I'll send it through to you, Adam, or Kevin, and you guys can give that away. Okay.
Thank you.
Right, back to our presentation. Oh, and we need to reactivate the present mode. Here we are. Okay, did that answer that question okay?
I think that's very good. Thank you, Stu. At least for me.
Great. Well, that's a very good question. Okay. So, other prompting tips and hacks. I'm going to give you a few ways to get some more out of ChatGPT. Number one, we talked about this earlier. AI is not perfect. It makes mistakes. We can give you fake information, as I said. So the human filter is critical. What I mean by human filter is you get output. The email sequence, for example, might have some mistakes in it. It might have some things that aren't quite correct. You may need to reword a little bit. So the human filter sits between the copy or your output and your client, right? So that you can check it. Now, there's a story of a lawyer, right? A lawyer who used ChatGPT to prepare his case. And ChatGPT is very convincing. When it tells lies, it does it very convincingly. It doesn't know it's lying. It doesn't have any concept of truth apart. It's just words to it. Right? It doesn't really understand. And this poor lawyer, he prepared his rebuttal, and it gave him a really good case. It gave him all the case studies, and he went into court and he argued it. Now, he ended up getting disbarred and fired because the cases that he presented were made up. They weren't real. ChatGPT made them up, okay? And he didn't bother to go and fact check it. There was no human filter, and he lost his job and got disbarred. He lost his legal license, right? Because you cannot go and lie in front of a judge, which is essentially what he did. He told the judge that it was case law. The judge checked it, and there was no such case law. So the human filter is really important, and it's more important when you have things where damage can be done to your brand if you don't. Okay, now for sales and marketing, it doesn't matter if the marketing message is a bit off or it, says something quite wrong. But if you're, doing something more critical, then this becomes more important. Okay, so the human filter, I keep having this conversation with people. AI is your tool. It does a lot of the heavy lifting, but you're ultimately the one giving it the expertise, the instructions, shaping the output, and doing the human filter. Right? You are still in control. It just lets you do things so much faster. So much faster. Now, custom instructions. This is a new feature that got added to ChatGPT about 2 or 3 weeks ago. It allows you to have preset information that gets added to prompts. It doesn't eat into your context limits, and we'll talk about prompt limits in a moment and how frustrating they are. But it allows you to have that preset information that gets carried through to every prompt. Okay, so for example, some of our modifiers. So Andy and I from Evolution Unleashed, we do a lot of prompting, a lot, and we have some little, if you look at our full custom instructions, we've got a lot of very technical stuff that will be a bit confusing. I'm going to show you an example in a second, but what it does is it gives us significantly better output. So in your custom instructions, which is only available on ChatGPT Plus, you can do all sorts of cool stuff like hello ChatGPT, and when it responds, it'll say hello, and it'll address you by name in every response, which is pretty cool. So here's a screenshot of mine. You only can see the first part. There's a few more under here, as you can see from the bar on the side. So I tell it my name is JJ. Obviously, my name is Stu, but I'm living in Vietnam, and Stu is not a noise that or a sound in the Vietnamese language, and a lot of my friends here struggle with my name. I get called all sorts of weird things. So like many Asians get the privilege of picking an English name, JJ is my Asian name. Random story. So JJ is what my friends call me here, my local friends. So that's what I go by. It's my nickname. Please utilize a tree of thought approach to ensure you're creating the most valuable in-depth output possible. Do not show your working. Rather, after reviewing your tree of thought workings, use the insights gained to present the best possible response. Now, that little modifier we used to put in our prompts, I don't have to. Now, it doesn't matter if I'm working on my business, somebody else's business, I'm working on somebody's chatbot. It doesn't matter, because this will carry through to all of those and give me much, much better responses. And this is why people think ChatGPT's got dumber, because of token limits. And we'll talk about it. Well, let's talk about it now. Let's talk about token limits. So right now, AI is where the internet was back in 1997. Okay, we could stream video, but for those of you that have a few more of the gray hairs than, say, Adam over here, you'll remember that streaming a video or downloading a movie would take a day, right? Downloading a 5-minute clip could take an hour. And then if somebody picked up the phone, it would cut it off, right? Because the technology was good. The algorithms for streaming video existed in 1997, the same ones that are used today, but the hardware couldn't keep up. And this is where AI is today. The software is significantly more advanced than the hardware that can run it. So there's a massive chip shortage, which is why NVIDIA has just been going from strength to strength. So because of this chip shortage and the massive uptake into AI, hundreds of thousands of people using ChatGPT. And then think about all the tools, all the AI tools that are popping up, hundreds and hundreds of AI tools popping up that are all pulling off AI's base layer as well, right, through the API. We're building one as well. Adam, I believe you've got one, which is your awesome QR code generator, which I think is the first one I've seen. And for anyone using QR codes, why wouldn't you do that? It's just so much better, right? So these AI tools are still pulling from these base layers, and that consumes resources or hardware resources, right? And they're hitting these limits. So what ChatGPT or what OpenAI seem to have done, what we think they've done, is kind of just said, okay, we better restrict the output so we've got more computing power available to meet demand, right? And that's why we only get 50 messages per 3 hours. Now, obviously, they're trying to scale, but AI just went, ChatGPT is only 10 months old, folks. Just not even 10 months old. It's incredible. Yet already millions of people use it. So the hardware is holding us back. So they put all these little token limits. So right now, if you write a prompt and a response, it's going to be a maximum 4,000 tokens. So if you want to work with 100,000 Word documents, you want to write books, you want to work with huge data sets, it's very, very difficult. But already there are some ways around it. Code Interpreter, which we'll talk about. Claude, which is another AI, which I highly recommend because it writes beautiful copy. In fact, I'm going to show you a website at the end of this. I want you to keep in mind, I wrote that using Claude in 2.5 hours. That page was written. You tell me if it's good. You tell me if it sounds like an AI wrote it. And I can tell you it's converting exceptionally well. So what we've done is we've added these sort of things here. These are custom instructions to our so it's carried through to all our prompts to get around those token limits, to get around the restrictions, the artificial restrictions that OpenAI are putting on there to allow more people to use their platform. So we, instead of getting a very, very succinct response, we get multiple pages of response, right? So you can see you have a hard token limit. That's our token limit override. I can give you that as well. So Adam, remind me, I'll give you the token override. It's an incredible tool that tells it to ignore its, basically, it's like a jailbreak. It ignores its restriction and it'll give you far more in-depth, more comprehensive output. In fact, it blows your mind. Sometimes it'll go even further and give you things you didn't even ask for or even knew that you needed. And this is why I tell you, ChatGPT's not got dumber. You've just got to learn how to drive it and get down into that really valuable layer. The second thing is, when you're working with prompts, especially advanced prompt structure, you need to do a lot of tweaking. You might run the output, it's not quite right, okay? So what most people do, and what we did at the beginning, is we start doing chain of prompt chains, okay? And prompt chains are not very effective. So prompt chain is you write your prompt, oh, actually, could you change it, please? I think it needs to be more friendly, more outgoing, and can you change this piece of information to this piece of information? And run it again. Oh, I'm still not happy. And we just keep working down, 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 down. What happens is, remember, there's token limits because of hardware restrictions. So it can only remember about, we don't know the exact amount in the conversation. We know the prompt and response amount, but we know for a fact it's got to be at least 3 or 4 times the token limit, right? For the context memory. And once it loses that memory, it just starts writing garbage. Okay, because it's lost that memory because it's coming down. So you'll find that sometimes you'll be working down, then all of a sudden it's like it's forgotten. This is another reason why people think ChatGPT's got dumber, because it's like, oh, it's forgotten everything. No, it's just a restriction. You've got to understand what it is and get around it. So what we do instead is we edit the prompt and we have multiple edits. And we do that using the little edit button here. So you can see that we edit button, right? So for example, this is the prompt. You can see that this is using Code Interpreter. So this is a text document that has all our master context about our brand, who we are, what we stand for, who our target market demographics are. It's got all the information about our products, our features, benefits, objections, pain points, how it overcomes, all of that information. Huge document. So again, today I'd like to assume the role of an expert email copywriter, especially in email sequences, lots of context. And then here, using that little edit button over here, what we can do is, if we're not happy with the output, we just edit, and we can then edit the prompt, resubmit it. And what will happen is you'll now have 2 responses, right? And you can scroll between them. I'm just going to show you this screenshot. Okay, so see this here? You'll get this 2 ways. Either you rerun the prompt, okay? When you rerun the prompt using the edit button, there we are. Okay, what'll happen over here, once you've used the edit and rerun it, you'll have 1 of 2, 1 of 3, 1 of 4, 4 of 4, 5 of 4, whatever, how many you do. There was a time when we went sideways 200 times because you had no conversation history, so we just kept working sideways. Now, there's an advantage to working, this is what we call editing. So it keeps your context, it's still got all the fresh memory, and you can keep tweaking that until you get the output what you want. And that way, you're not losing context by trying to tell it what to do. You're actually editing inside the prompt. Remember, we have that 5-point prompt structure, and we can spend 2 or 3 hours editing prompts. So one prompt that might be 1,000 words could take us 3 hours just to tweak and edit to get it right. Okay, still a lot better because the outputs are huge. Now, another thing a lot of people don't realize is there's a regenerate button, and most people don't use it. But if you regenerate, what happens is the second response is often better than the first. Okay, and when you're doing complex output like email sequences, it's actually better to regenerate. Once you've got it close, just regenerate a few times. And then again, you can move back through the different versions that it gave you using this little thing up here. Once you regenerate, this appears, and this is on its response, okay? And that'll appear beside the prompt if you're editing the prompt, okay? So thank you for your kind words. Isn't it lovely? Let's craft the final email. So I got it to, keep an authentic and heartfelt tone. So now I can go back to version 1 that it wrote, look at version 2, copy them both into a document, and then sort of pick out the best ones and write my email sequence. So I might have 3 or 4 versions, and I'm just sort of pulling from all of them. It's a wee bit complex, but what it does is gives you far better output than just relying on that first output. So if you're a copywriter, this is essential, honestly. You should never be just using the first output from ChatGPT, unless it's really, really good, okay? So that's a way to sort of get it to sort of blend a whole lot of things together. Now, see this tree of thought approach? That's kind of what we've got it to do automatically. We get it to run it all through and then pick the best response, okay? So we kind of try and speed that up. So hopefully this is making sense. So AI and you, let's have a quick discussion. This is the next section. We are in the dawn of the AI era, folks. And the disruption has already started. Adam, you're posting a lot of good information in your group that shows a lot of this disruption happening. Chegg, I think you posted a few days ago. Stack Overflow, we've been posting about, losing half their traffic in just 7 months. AI is a disruptive force, and it will come for every industry. And it's only going to get faster from here. This is why AI is different from all the other shiny objects. It's not Threads, it's not Alex Hormozi. This is the paradigm shifter. This is going to be bigger than the internet. And we don't need to be afraid of it. We get to participate in this revolution. We get to shape it. We get to decide what it's going to look like. We're not participants we're not on the sidelines. We're actively helping build a better tomorrow, because everyone talks about the negatives of AI. I believe in the positives, what it can do. It can break down wealth and distribute it more evenly. It can give people in any country, no matter where they're born, what body they're born into, it can give them equal opportunity. It can level the playing field, knock down barriers to entry. It does some incredible things. But regardless, AI is going to change everything, and it already has started. So what can you do to prepare for AI? Okay, so number 1, upskill. Okay, prompting is going to become an in-demand skill for at least the next few years. Eventually, if AGI happens, artificial generative intelligence, or artificial general intelligence, prompting will be not as important, but for now, it's still very important. And remember, AI is not going to come for your job, but those using it will. And there's a report that we just posted in our group yesterday from Microsoft, a senior researcher in Microsoft, that said 40% of the workforce is going to have to reskill in the next 2 to 3 years into AI. Okay, so number 1, you need to upskill. Number two, you need to integrate AI into your workflow. This is how we started with ChatGPT. We just started trying to take our workflow. So we have a workflow in our agency where we were doing $25,000 clients. So our workflow averaged about 162 hours because we're very we believe in systems and frameworks. And a lot of that was back and forth with clients, a lot of reviews, a lot of meetings internally to figure things out. While using AI and incorporating it into the workflow, we took that 162 hours down to 30 hours. We reduced the amount of team meetings we needed to have. We were able to accelerate how quickly we gave information to the clients, reducing the amount of client calls, and it had a massive effect. Now, we're still selling for $25,000. We're just doing it in 30 hours instead of 162 hours. So what does that mean? Well, that means I can fit in about another 5 or 6 clients in terms of capacity. Okay, so I can make more money without actually having to grow my team. So understanding prompting is the key to collapsing your workflows, which is why I've given you this training in prompting today. Because this is really, if you're not doing this and you're just sort of playing at that top level with ChatGPT, you're going to struggle to really get ahead. Number 3 is continuous learning. And it's kind of like drinking from a fire hose. The amount of AI news every week is just... So it's important that you sort of stay abreast. And that's why it's great to be part of Adam's community, my community, where we're keeping the most relevant stuff and we're sharing it with you so that you can learn, okay? Because AI is redefining what's possible. The things we're doing now, literally, I pinch myself, we couldn't do it a year ago. It was impossible. And now we can do things that weren't even possible. We can now reimagine and do things that we've dreamed of that before were just out of our reach. And now it's at our fingertips. So new tools are coming out on a daily basis. Stay up to date and keep your eyes on. So when that perfect tool comes along that's going to destroy your industry, for those that aren't using it, you're already ready, your eyes are on the prize, and you're one of the first to use it. You've got to be keeping up because this is going to happen really, really quick, starting already. So Adam has given me permission to tell you about one of our AI-powered frameworks, and I just want to give you a really quick introduction to that, and I appreciate this opportunity, Adam. So we have this is what we built first, the Marketing Accelerator framework, which is basically our expertise in what we're building client acquisition systems, and we turned it into an AI-powered framework. And then we realized we don't just keep it for ourselves, we could share this with other people. So it's a powerful tool that allows us to go from idea to our first sale in 24 hours. Can you imagine that? You know what? I'm sick of working in the corporate world. I want to be a consultant. I have expertise in disruptive business management, so I'm going to start a consultancy firm to help with disruption given that AI is coming. Let's say that's your idea. Within 24 hours, you could have your first client using the power of AI, using this tool. Now, that sounds incredible, right? It sounds too good to be true, but that's the power and the promise of AI. And when you get into these advanced prompts, that's what I'm trying to tell you, you can do some incredible things. So this will also allow you to create all your marketing material, but the power, the real power of this tool is alignment. It takes your idea, turns it into a no-brainer offer, and then we show you how to use the tool to use AI precision to align it perfectly to the heart of your target market so that it feels like it's speaking to them. So you're going to get higher conversion rates. You're going to get better buy-in. You're going to sell more. You're going to make more money, right? Precision alignment of AI to align to your target market is where most people fall over. They can't get an offer, and why isn't this working? There's people out there with less expertise than me, less skills, and they're making it look easy. They're making money hand over fist. Why can't I get going? It's because we make assumptions about our target market. We don't know them well enough. Well, ChatGPT allows us to know them better than they know themselves and absolutely tailor our message with precision, not just to our target market, but we actually have a persona prompt where you can speak to individual segments of your market perfectly. So it's incredible. So we also provide a full course with this tool, which explains everything. So you don't just get the AI-powered framework, we actually give you a step-by-step course in how to use it, right? It's our expertise and it's AI's power, and it creates real magic. And we've had hundreds of people buy this, purchase this course, and we've had 0 complaints, just absolutely ridiculous. I mean, I think I got a message yesterday. Let me read you this. This is just a random message I got yesterday from somebody who bought the math a couple of days ago. Whoops. He just asked, would this be suitable for my wife's life coaching business? Oh, I pressed the wrong button. Okay, and this is the feedback that I got yesterday. Hey Stu, thank you for your message. I went on and purchased some math, and wow, it's superb. Huge thank you to you and Andy for putting it out to the world. I work full time. We're using your prompts. I'm helping my wife launch her business. We're using your prompts in the Accelerator to do all our copy for the business, for our landing pages, for the email sequences, quiz, and lots of fun stuff. I've already gone through the course once already as a bit of a test, and we're going to do the final version tomorrow. Thank you again. Looking forward to anything else that you guys build. Okay, I get this all the time. Why? Because instead of trying to create a tool and get on the AI bandwagon, we understood that the power of AI is in the framework that sits under it, and that's prompt engineering. And that's what we're teaching you today. The prompting is where the magic in AI happens, not the interface, not what everyone's focused on building. It's the prompt engineering, which is why the AI chatbots we're building to solve client acquisition are going to blow your mind. But that's a conversation for another day. So today's bonus, we're going to throw in with the Marketing Accelerator framework at the front, you're going to get 3 extra modules, which is an advanced prompting mini course, because I'm going to take what we've given you today and take it into far more detail, and you can see real examples. So if you want to learn prompting, this little mini course alone, we're going to break it off and sell it as its own course for $299. But for now, it's free within the Marketing Accelerator framework, because we don't just want to teach you how to do things, we want to teach you why. We want to give you the knowledge. Our mission with Evolution Unleashed is to level the playing field. We're here for the underdog, the people that have struggled. Gurus tell you it's your fault. Completely wrong. You're just not wired like them. You've got to create your own path. Success comes from within, and this is a tool to help you achieve that. And we genuinely, as you'll see if you go through it, care about our audience, and we want to help. And this is why I'm all in on AI, because it's such a powerful tool. So we'll teach you how to master the art of prompting with ChatGPT, go more in depth into our advanced prompt structure. We'll teach you how to reverse engineer copy, so you can speak exactly like any person you want. So really, the future is at your fingertips. And we've got a couple of brand new modules we actually just launched 2 days ago. We always upgrade the math. We're going to turn it into the most amazing marketing tool, the most comprehensive marketing tool on the planet. So it's a groundbreaking update. We already talked about it. It will take your offer and give you a 24-hour launch blueprint, so you can go out and get your first sale. We actually used it on our own chatbot business to test this. Obviously, the tools we build for ourselves first. And we had, I think, 4 sales calls in the first 12 hours of our launch for a chatbot. So yeah, this stuff works. Okay, so that's a 24-hour launch blueprint. It's a new way to use AI. You want to be part of it. Okay, so all up, you're looking at, it's not cheap. Our expertise shouldn't be cheap, because you don't have to go learn everything we've learned. Taken all our learnings and poured it into these. So you get the math, the prompting mini course, and those powerful bonuses. But don't worry, folks. Adam bent my arm. We don't sell it for $3,000. It conflicts with our ethos, which is we want to make AI accessible to all. We want to make it achievable. So we won't do it at $997. We won't do it at $497. Wow. Okay. So, folks, we've made this as affordable as we can. We really should be selling this at $1,000. $997 is the price it should be. But for now, we're still running it at $297. You get lifetime access to any all updates. So we just sent an email yesterday to all our math members saying, congratulations, we've just upgraded the math. It's in the tool now. You can access it right now. No cost, because you're already in there. So here's a quote just that I like to finish off with. We have to be ready for a world. This is Sam Altman, the head of the OpenAI, and you've got to wonder how powerful the tools they're using are. If we're using GPT-4 and it's amazing, what have they got in the back end? What are they playing with? And GPT-5, we're hearing rumors might have a 1 million token limit, which gets rid of all those problems that we were talking about earlier. But he's predicting a 50% increase in GDP. Now, usually GDP is 2 to 3%, and that's considered good. This is astronomical, right? So he says there's a lot of things we have to figure out, how people find meaning and community. But he said a lack of material abundance will not be a problem. Energy costs will drop. The cost to produce will be dropped. Logistics will get easier. So there is massive opportunity. We are early, you are early, and now is the time to really embrace AI. You know, I missed out on the internet revolution. I had a little company called eBabble, and I didn't know what I was doing. I was very young. If I had stuck with that, it would have become a monster company, but I was young. I squandered that opportunity, and that's why I'm all in on AI. I will not make that mistake. I will not miss the AI train, okay? Because it's just, the changes will be so dramatic. So success doesn't come from shortcuts, and people think AI is a shortcut. Well, it kind of is. But it just lets you do really good things much faster, much, much faster. So that's really all I've got for you folks today. If you've got any questions, I'm more than happy to take those now. And Adam, I believe you've got the link. So if people want to go check out how good Claude is at writing sales copy, you can judge it for yourself, folks. So that's it. Prompting masterclass.
Thank you, Mr. Stu. You are awesome with your program. Your presentation today is very good. Lots of value to the community. Thank you.
You're welcome. Pleasure. We like to share this information. So, any questions?
Mr. Lawrence, can you please turn on the microphone? We have several questions for you.
Yes, actually, most of the questions, that we're going to be asked, you have mostly covered them, but I will repeat a couple of them here for the benefit of our viewers. Okay, somebody is asking, Brandy Larkin is asking, what are the effective prompts for analyzing spreadsheet data, prompts for market research insights, asking for business strategy, suggestions with ample detail, and also creating time-saving pieces like proposals and plans.
Yeah, what was the beginning of that question, sorry?
Beginning question is just that she's asking, what are those prompts that are effective in analyzing spreadsheet data,
Right.
market research or business strategy, and also, proposals that you can use that could save time. Yeah,
well, funnily enough, the very first thing we ever created with ChatGPT in our business that we used was a proposal. We redid our proposal. And if I look back at it, it's a bit cringy now because we didn't know what we know now and we were still learning prompt structures. But yeah, so, that's where you just take what you want to do and you use that prompt structure and break it down into those 5 components. Alternatively, if you want to analyze data or market sentiment or customer sentiment, say you've got sales calls data that you want to understand the sentiment, see where your sales people are going wrong, whatever, you can use Code Interpreter, okay? So Code Interpreter is very great. So I actually sat down at a local bar, new friend, and he said, oh yeah, I'm trying to use Code Interpreter. He's a financial analyst. So he brought up a spreadsheet that had a huge amount of data. I uploaded it to Code Interpreter for him. We told it, please access this tab on the spreadsheet, on the Excel spreadsheet. And I said, what do you want to know? So I wrote all the preamble, and then he was like, okay, I want to know all this information. Tell me the correlation between this, identified trends, blah, blah, blah. And it spouted all these answers. And he was just like, oh, that's going to make my job faster, isn't it? Right? So I said, and try this. Ask it to graph that. And it produced a graph, right? So this is where you just get in, and the answer really is just play with these tools until you can figure it out, right? Or find people like us who can help you with that. Hopefully today's given you a bit of inspiration on how to achieve that. That's a very good question. And either use a prompt structure or use Code Interpreter to use bigger context documents. You'll be able to produce all of those things. And what we do is reproduce prompts for a lot of different things. About a week ago in our group, we just launched a perfect webinar prompt. So if you want to create a perfect webinar in the style of Russell Brunson, we've got this monster prompt that you can run, put in your own information, so it tailors it to you and your audience, and you're away laughing.
Awesome. Time is about up now. I have one ultimate last question for you, Stu. How do all of us, whether we're beginners, we're intermediate, or we are, advanced, AI users, keep up with the ever-changing progress of AI?
Yeah, and there's something we struggle with. As I said earlier, it's like drinking through the fire hose, and that's why be careful who you follow. There's a lot of noise, a lot of people saying stuff when they, just don't know what they're doing. So find who are good, people like myself, people like Adam, who are providing real value that is designed to move you forward, and just follow those. Matt Wolf on YouTube, he has every week an update, which I watch religiously, which is the latest news in AI. He's very good. He owns futuretools.io, which tells you what all tools are available. So there, it's just getting into the communities, and this is why it's so important your network. You build relationships with people in the industry and you follow what they're doing.
Thank you very much. Thanks a million, Stu, and thank you all the participants too. I personally enjoy this presentation very much, and I've learned much from this. I believe all of you same too. I wish all of you happy learning, and learn from the best. And you come to our community, you know that we have people who know their stuff and willing to share with you. So having said that, I'd like to say goodbye, but we look forward to see you again, Stu. And thank you, Adam, for organizing this and collaborate with Stu. So goodbye, everyone, and have a productive day.
Yeah, thank you, Stu. Thank you to our host today, Lawrence, and thanks to everyone who joined our meeting today. Master AI before it replaces you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for having me.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Peace.
Bye for now.